Yesterday, we saw that Prince William had resumed his official agenda with 2 events where his work for an NGO and a youth center near London had been acknowledged. During these Easter holidays, the Prince of Wales and his children had moved to Hammer Hall, a property located within Sandringham, and supposedly had enjoyed some family time there and taken refuge. The Prince traveled to Surrey County, where he visited surplus to see how they redistribute food to needy communities. He appeared very enthusiastic there, so many royal experts commented throughout the whole tour. We saw him getting into a van as he was processing and packaging some leftovers, and furthermore a box with pasta, potatoes, and canned soup was donated, which he had previously prepared in Adelaide Cottage on his behalf. During this event, one of the volunteers, which we hadn't mentioned yesterday, handed him several cards to give to his wife and father. We know that all these events are prepared, and evidently many people believe that this happens just because, but it's obvious that this is highly prepared. The brands, the NGO they participate in, the way it's seen. William Everything is very prepared, and in one of those messages I mentioned, it said the following: "Get well soon." Likewise, she expressed her wish for him to take care of Kate, to which William responded, "I will do it as I affirm, so I will." This is affirmed by various UK media outlets. In fact, the Daily Mail seems to have exclusively reported it. It's also worth remembering that just a few weeks ago, the Daily Mail was fueling some conspiracy theories about Russia, China, spies, all those kinds of things we discussed around here, and 2 weeks ago, when our channel was hacked, suddenly all those news stories disappeared completely. And today we see that there are some exclusives, even if small, on this news portal that we know is huge. But what catches my attention, a little as I was saying, is that a few weeks ago they were with some theories. In fact, I think it was the Daily Mail that broke the exclusive about the workers at the London clinic, about whom absolutely nothing is known to this day about what happened. And it's news that comes out one day and then completely disappears. Thomas Kingston's story disappeared, Constantino's funeral disappeared, then the London clinic, and the stolen medical records of KATE Middleton. It disappeared. I mean, there are many things that happen one day in the news and then completely disappear. Things that seem quite important, and that it's quite strange that this happens. We know that there was a lot of anticipation on this last day to know some details about how Catherine Middleton is doing, but William made no comment on that. And it's been months since his last public appearance on March 19, 3 days before Catherine's video was released. I remember that. On that occasion, Prince William was at a bar drinking beer and so on at that event. And that subsequently drew a lot of attention that a few days later we had that announcement from his wife Catherine about cancer, talking about Catherine, but also about Meghan Markle. I don't know if you remember that the website of Meghan Markle's America Riviera Orchard brand led to a British food bank and a message that said thoughts with catering. This after a mysterious buyer echoed that UK domain. This seems quite curious because this is the new lifestyle brand of the Duchess of Saxe of Meghan Markle. But it seems that a fan of Princess Kate could have kidnapped it in quotes, right, while this American web link led to a website of the Duchess of Sussex and that business, a buyer linked to a food bank and sent a message saying thoughts with Catherine Middleton. Fans started to bring this up, and some media outlets in the UK even published it. And it's because the American Riviera Orchard UK links were redirected to a page requesting donations for a UK-based charity organization, and they would discover that very direct message, while the homepage said, "Sorry, please make a donation back to the trust." By clicking on that, a fundraiser would be held for that charity organization, and the message of support for the Princess of Wales came after she revealed she had been diagnosed with cancer last month. As soon as users opened that website, they were greeted with critical words of apology and permission. Before encouraging people to please make that donation, And then the phrase with the Princess of Wales, as far as can be known, would have been a fake page that raised about 1000 as soon as they could shut it down. And the director behind the trust, which is that donation website, etc., said it was fake and that it wasn't an official page, and they didn't know how they could have done such a thing. Also, regarding the access, different royal experts are asking if Charles Roman III now tried to remove Harry as a state advisor. And it's because legal experts are saying that Prince Harry can't resign from that position and that the king can only remove him from the list of royal members by consulting Parliament, after the Duke formally cut his ties with the UK. And it's because King Charles can only remove Harry as a state advisor by consulting Parliament. He has postponed all his public tasks while undergoing cancer treatment, but continues to work behind the scenes. A quartet consisting of William, Princess Beatrice, disgraced Prince Andrew, and Harry, who now lives in California, after leaving his post in 2020. The debate on whether Harry is one of the advisors returned today after it was revealed that his records in the UK had been authorized to clarify that he no longer lives in Great Britain, but in the United States. So a constitutional expert named Craig Prescott, a law professor at Royal Holloway University of London, said that Buckingham Palace could only get rid of Harry as an advisor if they went to Parliament. He told various media outlets that it was a matter for Parliament, that any changes would be quickly approved, that it would be just a bill shortly. Prescott was referring to the 2022 law when the king added Princess Anne and Prince Edward to that list of royal family members who could replace him when he couldn't fulfill certain royal duties. But when asked if Harry could resign from the advisor position himself, Prescott added, no, he can't resign because it's established in Regency laws who is a state advisor and indeed who would be the regent. And Harry would be right there until the end of the reign of the late Queen Elizabeth Roman II. The dilemma of the advisors remained unresolved, and sources said there would be no changes in the law despite the scandal surrounding Andrew and Harry's permanent departure to the United States. Public debate and pressure to resolve this situation increased when Elizabeth contracted COVID and became increasingly frail. Then, in November 2022, just 2 months after her death, Charles took some steps to address this issue, proceeding to emphasize that there was no way back to public life for his brother Andrew. Besides sidelining his son Harry, and it's because the state advisors in Great Britain would be first Queen Camilla, second Prince William. Behind would come Prince Harry, right after William, then Prince Andrew, Princess Beatrice, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward. Royal chroniclers say that, in a sense, Harry's question became a dead letter when the state advisor law was passed in 2022, not so long ago, adding Prince Edward and Anna as mentioned as state advisors, and that clarification that only working members of the royal family would ever act. So with Prince William, it would be expected that 2 of these 3 would act if necessary. And it's been interesting, even with everything that's happened with King Charles's cancer diagnosis, that they have been named state advisors. Also, in recent days, there have been certain publications from some media outlets with quite strong information about the Princess of Wales. We've been without seeing Kate for a long time. And if that video wasn't true, as some experts said about the last BBC video not making public appearances, Buckingham Palace isn't going through its best moment, not even evidently Kensington Palace, with all its communicative space. They say there have been many layoffs during this recovery of Kate's, which is what's happening from within. We also wonder. It was announced that King Charles has cancer after he was in treatment, and the latest is about the state of Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, who had accumulated 67 absences in public appearances, which sparked the interest of some followers of the British Crown. The absence of the Prince of Wales at that Mass in memory of Constantine of Greece, his godfather, also raised all alarms about what was happening with Kate and that Mass that was planned at home in the St. George's Chapel of Windsor Castle, a few hours before, the heir to the throne warned that he would not be able to go due to personal problems. William had an important role as he was responsible for reading the liturgy at the Mass. However, the English royal house stepped in to address rumors about Kate's permanent absence. In a statement, they assured that there was no change in her health status and that, as reported, she would not appear publicly again until after Easter, something that we were being deceived about in that statement that came out just at that moment. And to me, that moment seems like a peak moment, a peak. For many reasons, they lied to us that Kate would appear when a few weeks later we got that cancer announcement that happened with William because he didn't attend that Mass in honor of his godfather. There are many questions in the air here that many people think will never be known, but what they are putting in various media outlets now is that Kate Middleton was operated on in January for a stomach problem, or as the British Royal House said at the London clinic, and convalescing at her Adele residence. Right after, she had several Filipino nurses, and about this, the only clarification made by Buckingham Palace is that the princess didn't have cancer, and that communications about her health would only be made when the evolution warranted it. Amidst the silence, monarchy experts became interested in the medical team surrounding the princess, and there they discovered that shortly before the operation, Patrick had joined William and Kate's team as a private secretary. All this according to the Times newspaper, which is the Crown's newspaper. Patrick, who was a member of Crohn's Colitis UK. It was speculated there if Crohn's was the disease Catherine was suffering from. In fact, journalist Philip Tartle went so far as to say that there was a possibility that she was a victim of that condition, that there was no official statement confirming it, but that he had sources that said it could be that. What seems even more serious is that in recent days, it was being said that the Princess of Wales had another virus. It was being said here, in several media outlets, that it would be the human papillomavirus which would be the cause of Kate's cancer. Complete or unofficial information, as you all know, but it strikes me a lot that they would put this after all the information that came out about the princess and that video. But as I said, according to some sources, it was believed that the Princess of Wales's cancer was mainly related to an infection by the human papillomavirus, an infection that was known to increase the risk of developing various types of cancer, including cervical cancer, which was mentioned as a type of cancer that could affect the princess. None of this is known for sure. It's obvious that there's general concern for the Princess of Wales, Catherine Middleton. But these reports that came out here about the human papillomavirus issue aren't confirmed by anyone and are news that I had to comment on here, and I don't know if you had already heard them, but they seemed quite strange to me. And it's because with Catherine there are still many rumors, and quite serious ones. There's a curse that seems to haunt some princesses of Wales with tragedies and unfortunate endings, a series of events that unleash reactions from these faithful followers of the British Crown, and that, of course, remind us of Catherine and also of Lady Di. And it's true that princesses have held a special place in British history and culture, being prominent figures that have captured the imagination of the public worldwide, despite varying depending on their partners and the stages of the crown. There is a strong belief linked to the hardships each of them has endured. These figures ended up becoming the focus of attention due to misfortunes and destinies that appeared in their personal lives. Within the British royal family, there are two women who made an impact during their time in the royal circle. We know this is the case with Queen Elizabeth Roman II, who maintained a stable marriage and preserved the bloodline of the crown. And of course, Camilla Cornwall, the current wife of King Charles Roman III. However, the story was different for four celebrities who experienced very harsh and difficult moments for being part of this royal family. The first, Alexandra of Denmark, who married the future King Edward Roman VII in 1863 and held the title of Princess of Wales, which we are now talking so much about. The British woman was known for her elegance and charm and had become a very popular figure in English society. Despite how happy she seemed, the reality was that it was not easy to hold that position, as her partner did not accompany her at the birth of their third child and was never attentive to her when she suffered a severe fever. The second on the list would have been Mary of Teck, who suffered greatly emotionally, as she was engaged to Albert Victor of Clarence, heir to the throne, and then saw him die a month before reaching the altar. A woman who was the great-grandmother of Charles Roman III, who soon after became engaged to Prince George, brother of her deceased companion, leading to a union that reached the altar and crowned her as queen. Of course, we have Diana, Princess of Wales, who enters this group as one of the most famous and influential women in British royalty throughout history, not only because of her heavy history with Queen Elizabeth Roman II and with Charles and Camilla, but also because of the impact she had on world society. However, when she married the now King Charles Roman III, we know she had to face a very delicate romantic disappointment, as the whole world turned against her, and all the secrets abounded in that core of her relationship. Lady Di, as she was known, claimed that she was never happy in the relationship and ended up involved in all kinds of affairs with other people like Barry Manickey and James Hewitt. Even that surgeon, but in the same way. She failed to bring, but in the same way. She never managed to bring the expected joy into her life, as she died in that fatal accident that took her life in 1997. And finally, we come to Catherine Middleton, the last on this list. There is talk that Prince William may have been unfaithful to her, supposedly with Rose Hanbury, that friend of the family who was very close to their circle of friends, rumors that have existed for many years. There are even some followers of the royalty who claim that as early as 2016 they had heard the name Rose Hanbury in relation to Prince William, not Princess of Wales. We know she faced many fatal news. That surgery, those treatments, also the health problems that appeared, and in fact the most serious theories about her were that she was the new Lady Di in terms of mental health, and also that many people placed her on social media that she might be deceased, which evidently was never confirmed by Kensington Palace or Buckingham. Great night, everyone. As always, we continue with all these videos of the British Crown Royals, which many people were asking me for, and here I am. I continue with all this theme, everything that is happening behind closed doors. Also, many people still question many things about the British royal family. We have here a new video in this program from Spain that must be one of the only ones that is touching very little on what is the royal family, but they always talk with different correspondents. This time it's not Ellen White. I noticed because there are people who say no, not Ellen White again. Well, look, now they have spoken with another person on this program. I haven't seen what it says, but I have seen let's see if it's going to be Ellen White. Because sometimes people tell me no, don't react so much to her. I don't know what, which I also think is fine if she has some opinions. But she is a correspondent who has been around for a long time and so on. But if she has maybe some opinion that we don't like so much, then contradict her or not say those kinds of things. So let's see what they think around here and what they tell us. So we've already found a solution for Queen Letizia from one royal household to another. Come on, Guillermo, who has appeared. We saw Guillermo attending a charitable event for an NGO that collaborates to prevent food poverty. And during this whole event, something very nice happened to him, and that is that people who collaborate with this NGO approached him to give him different messages of encouragement for Kate. And here he is talking, as you can see, with people who belong to this NGO. And he very kindly said to them, don't worry, because all these encouragements and all these expressions of affection, as soon as I get home, I will pass them on to her. Let's talk to Eva Milan to tell us the latest. Good morning, Eva, an image of the prince much more relaxed after all that has happened. Let's not forget that in previous public appearances since that announcement by the Princess of Wales on March 22nd, he was aware of what was happening and especially of that media storm, as well as on social media about the speculations about the state of health of his wife and what was really happening when he was next to a person who was already undergoing preventive chemotherapy treatment. Hence, we had seen a Prince of Wales more nervous than we saw him yesterday. Let's not forget that it has been almost 4 weeks since they withdrew to that house they have in rural England. The whole family a bit to digest the news and also taking advantage of the children's school holidays. Speaking of holidays, Eva, well, there has been quite a talk about this reappearance of Prince William again. We had it. That is the reappearance a few months ago when Kate was recovering from that surgery of which we saw that photo that came out in the car, he looking very upset and so on. And now we have this several months later of William, whom we see here. This time it's Eva Milan who tells us about it from London. In fact, speaking of speculations, there are many around William about what happens with the fake cancer that many people are commenting on every day in the YouTube chats. It's really crazy how something as serious as that Kate Middleton, Catherine has cancer, or she herself said it in that statement and in that video, but that a wave of comments has been formed. Many of the videos, whether mine, Jack of Hearts' 24-Hour Heart, for example, which are both very good by the way, well, there has been a quite large wave around all this, and there are many comments from people who do not believe that Middleton was that. The announcement they had to make caught our attention. There is no appearance or photograph of that return to school, and that is what we are used to be able to offer family images, but on this occasion not a single image. Yes, but it is worth considering that the images we usually have of the children going to school are at the beginning of the school year. Beyond that, there is an agreement between the press and the royal household. Of course, any paparazzi image is not published here in the UK, for which they lend themselves to a photo session by which the family goes to schools. But beyond that, the children's privacy is respected, and there is a special interest on the part of the couple of the Princes of Wales in maintaining that discretion around the more personal life of their children, especially at this moment when all the measures are in place, because it was their reappearance after the mother, I imagine, that now what everyone is waiting for, and for which there are still no dates for that reappearance of Kate. But doesn't it strike you, Nacho, the Lady Di syndrome that exists in the UK to the point of not publishing images taken by paparazzi after having heard the most intimate conversations of Prince Charles? It has changed a lot. A lot has changed in the UK. Regarding the royal household, they now have many agreements with many media outlets. Prince William forms his tricks with some media outlets. We see it all the time, so sometimes they go off track, but most of the time we see that all these secret agreements are not, because many journalists know it, and here in Spain they also talk about it because they have many contacts in the UK, and we have been seeing it since this Kate case began, that you put people, etc. And it was like, well, but William no longer, but that he is already at home. He is with his children because of such and such a since, or he is sending letters from the hospital. I don't know, a series of rainbow articles and others that are almost like conspiracy. But on the other hand, it's not a brutal thing, it's that there is no middle ground in the information. Or there was not in this case, because on the one hand we had UK media telling us it's not all roses and rainbows, she's not inside the hospital, and she's already sending letters to her fans, and on the day of the operation, she was already fine. And then we have on the other hand many other news of being in a coma, for example, that would be the one that would be right here and the other would be on the far left, right. And then in the middle would be the true news that we had to take as true the statements from the palace. But in the problem of right, left, and center, which is what we should take as really the truth, which is what is in the center, which would be the statements from the palace. In those statements there were lies, therefore the statements came to be towards the right, and that is why then we say, and then with what criteria do we stay in this situation? That's why I wanted to make this explanation, so to speak this example, to realize why people keep speculating so much about the royals. Yes, but you know what strikes me the most about all this? because we have already speculated a lot with the possibility that Buckingham Palace might be interested in, well, boycotting the image of the princess because she has a better image, and a survey has come out the next day of image and valuation, and Kate Middleton has risen. She is at 76% approval and is the most valued in the UK. And why has this happened? Do you think this could have happened? It is true that it may have happened also because of being sick of having what? That has empathized a lot. But what Nacho says is true, that after that published and manipulated image, where it was thought that somehow this was going to detract from her points, it has been quite the opposite of what happens. And I think that her appearance in the first person, telling what she had doubts about and brought closer what Susanna said, there will be more respect for them from now on, because I'm going to stop it so that the copyright doesn't catch me. And now we continue. They had said many things about infidelities, etc. I think that with this atmosphere that is being created around them with this illness, all this is going to stop. At least for a while it's true that it stopped. It stopped completely. In fact, all those rumors about Rose Hanbury didn't appear much more in the press, more than what we commented around here. The thing about the Chinese artifacts, later she came out giving like a statement with some lawyers to Business Insider. I think it was the media, but not much more. There really wasn't much about that. I'm glad it's quieted down. I'm glad that in the end they deserve respect, and in the end they represent the monarchy that people have to respect. It's just that I'm not a monarchist. They want respect and they'll say what they want. They do things about them, which really, in the end, everyone will have to decide what they consider. No, it's not. Since it's a huge issue, in the end, it's the Princess of Wales. It's not like, well, it's not just anyone. No, we're here talking about her, and there's been all this really bad management. We're not talking about Catherine Middleton. The next or future queen are the ones who have to be scrutinized the most of all. I'm telling you, you seem very sleepy. Sleepy. No, darling, I'm not sleepy at all. Wait a little while and let's talk about something that really interests me above all. All right, all right, all right. What do you want to talk? A surprise for you. So Sophia brings a surprise for Susanna. Well, basically, this is the little they've talked about here on this program, Espejo Publico in Spain, about William's return. A bit about why there isn't that photo of the kids, and I was saying in the UK media, they are saying the 17th is going to be the reappearance and there are going to be photographs. In the end, it was William's reappearance, but there was no trace of Kate. Like, as we all saw, there are no more photographs. I think in the end, if they had given a photo and it wasn't real well, it would have even sparked the Catherine scandal again. And I think that that they weren't going to release any photo of her. There are people who say that she hasn't been seen since the 25th of December. Wow, that's a long time. It's a lot of time, really. On the other hand, moving on to Harry, they talked about it here on Mesa Calient. This program seems to be on YouTube. So they bring out here what it is, the papers, not from that residence of Prince Harry, that has changed, right? He has already resigned his British residence, and this time he already has residence in the United States in Montecito, where he is with his wife, who, by the way, has quite a mansion, at the annual meeting of his ecological company, and explained that the organization that had its headquarters in London would now have headquarters in the United States for all the commercial purposes of the company. The change of address is dated June 29th of last year, the date. Here they bring out the registration of that company, not that travel company we were talking about yesterday, in which the king precisely asked him to return the keys to his Windsor home. For many, this is a very important indicator that Harry no longer plans to return to his native country permanently in the near future. As has been commented, all doors have been closed. Oh, I love this paper that says Prince Harry Charles. Put it, please, Duke of Sussex. Can you imagine being called that? What a wonderful thing, the name. A name, but no one believes me. I don't have blue blood. Veronica, Princess Veronica of Coyal de Olajuela. Oh my God. Well, it turns out that what's important to see here is one thing. Finally, he manages to get all his papers through. And what happens here? Well, the disappointment of many. Why? Because those who wanted suddenly had their hopes, like mine, that the prince would return to England to take his place in the monarchy as it should be. And look here, Prince Henry Charles Albert David, Duke of Sussex, which is a brutal name. The truth is yes. The name is incredible for Harry Prince. Heinrich Charles, my goodness. Well, they bring out these details here on this program. They are saying what a pity that Harry won't be returning to his royal duties now. Well, there was talk that he might return temporarily. They were trying. There were agreements trying for that return and so on, but it seems that he's getting further away as far as we can see. It can't be any longer, imagine. Well, and there was much more Mountain Ball, and I don't know how many more names. And Windsor too, okay. So it turns out that here the most important thing to say is that indeed he is already making his life here. Definitely, at any moment, we will see him taking the citizenship exam, so if you are about to take the exam, get in line. Those in California, because at some point that gentleman will be in line because not much time will pass before. He's married to an American. It's been 5 years and he'll have to do his paperwork. By law here in the United States, citizenship loses the title and loses. Now, the thing is you can hold 2 citizenships. Obviously, there are many people who can have citizenship of 2 countries, England and the United States you can have. So let's see what happens. And today when I was watching all this news, I said, wow, I think the only way he would return to England in this prince role, as many people expect, is if he separates from Meghan. I think it's a divorce. I didn't say I wish that. What I'm saying is that I think the only way he would return in that way is that, because his children have already been born. But I remember phrases like I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Concha or another who said like, well, the relationship between Harry and Meghan, well, it's not as good as they say. The thing is, of course, they have so many businesses, they have so many companies. The name of Netflix is Harry and Meghan, Meghan and Harry. No. In the podcasts practically alone, they have almost nothing, and it's like no matter how bad their relationship is, there are so many millions at stake between them that in the end there is a pact formed between them to be okay. Although there were really some people like saying, well, but they have desires to separate when all this ends, when their celebrity status ends, because currently it's true that together they are a very big ball, but separately who knows if they would be so strong, I don't know. Initially I thought so because, of course, with the separation there will be a lot of talk about them, right? But then what will happen afterwards? That's a bit what some people were asking here. Everything is here. So I think he has divorced England. Well, that's the family part. That's the romantic part. But if we think about money, taxes there are much higher there. So now that he lives here, yes, he has his residence here. So then he will also enjoy that benefit for us. Here we say, my God, these taxes are going to ruin us. But for a person who lives, for example, in the UK, which has 2 types of taxes from what I'm reading because I'm not an expert, it says that for royalty doesn't pay taxes. 40, and let's continue from the hot table. We move on to gossip no like, because they also talked a bit about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry overshadowing William. Will this reappearance do it, or I don't really know what they are referring to, and Meghan Markle, who does like a little show to be the protagonist in what would be that event recently that they were recording like a documentary and such, and she just gave a kiss to Prince Harry. I don't know, let's see what they comment around here, and now we opine. She did it again. On this occasion, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and his wife, attended a charity polo match in Miami, Florida, where the son of King Charles Roman III won the trophy. But during the award ceremony, one of Meghan Markle's gestures has not gone unnoticed, and has gone viral on social media. The Duchess of Sussex went up on stage to present the trophy to Prince Harry, and after her, another woman went up to pose with the winning team. However, Meghan insisted that the woman in no way would pose next to her husband, exposing her whim. Let's remember that this had already happened on another occasion. Meghan must always be the protagonist and always must be the center of attention. In May 2022, at the final of the friendly polo tournament, where she attended to support her husband. Once the parents' team won the Nixon Memorial Trophy for their participation in Santa Barbara, the players went up on stage to receive their awards. The moment became very embarrassing because when they invited Meghan to go up with the winners, she was totally out of place. On the podium, Meghan wore a huge black hat that would bother her much later. Once on stage to accompany her husband's winning team, she looked uncomfortable, out of place, and not knowing what to do in front of the 4 polo players who carried the trophy, trying not to drop it on the Duchess's head. An even stranger moment was seen earlier when Meghan wiped her husband's lips and he responded with a very ungrateful gesture. Well, look here, talking about various gestures of Meghan Markle in question. The truth is that I hadn't noticed this gesture she made here in this part, as if telling this woman who was at the awards, no, to move just to her side, not to be on Prince Harry's side. Well, maybe she thought it looked better like that. The photo, I don't know. But, well, it is true that you have to look for the gossip. You have to look for the quarrel in all these kinds of matters. Even so, well, it seems a bit silly, doesn't it, this? Even so, let's see what they say around here on gossip, not like in this podcast with the players. She was there like she wanted to be there, a protagonist. I have to be here. Well, I'll give you my opinion, my dear Robbie. Let's see, the second event was also a few years ago. Did you notice how she tries to take the award away from the player and the player who has been? Well, maybe training, they want to put the images only for years for that award. If you can go to the end of the note, my dear Pepito, I would appreciate it. There it is. See how she had already played this role. Try to pull. Oh, how bad these images look, right? They look terrible for the prize. The player won't give it to her, and see how she didn't move. They told her to move away, and she agreed even if they covered her face. Co-matters, she says, I'm not moving from here. That's something a person who seeks the camera all the time does. We must remember that when she attended the last public event, it came to light that she attended because she was making her documentary, where she dragged all the nobility and had a cameraman and microphones. It's true that Meghan Markle likes fame a lot, or that's what it seems, honestly. I mean, she moves well, she wants to be the center of attention, that's true. But from there to many other things being true of what they said, I think there's a gap, right? But it's true that sometimes it seems like she really seeks the spotlight a lot, doesn't want to always be the center of attention, and so on. I make this gesture, I do this, I give this kiss. Here it's not like she's always seeking a bit of that, but, well, that's a bit of how it is. My dear Pepito, 1/1, and also, she says I'm not leaving, there it is. Look, she says I'm not moving, miss, as she says, well, we're celebrating, so let me get it. He pulled her and took her to the other side, like he didn't want her to be on the other side of her husband, but next to her. If you now, we just showed you a little bit. Co-matters, now if you help me with the camera, why? Because we can't show the whole video due to copyright. But co-matter, if you later in the evening search for this image, you will see how the old Meghan says I'm not moving from here with my yes, 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 yes. Here, if you want to grab him, this is my place beside. I'm not leaving. She even saw herself there like she had to be there because this is my man. Zero prudence, the woman. The truth is those scenes are embarrassing. Now if she does this publicly, why did she come out like a shot with the prince and never fit into this family? Well, okay, but there are many issues actually there to say that it was only because she wanted to be the center of attention in the royalty too. Well, I think Meghan Markle is doing better in the role she has now, honestly. The role she currently has, I believe, well, I firmly believe she's doing much better than the one she had in royalty. It's very noticeable that she moves like a fish in water currently, but they haven't separated at all. They keep putting, you know what I mean. It doesn't seem to me that they've done what they said they were going to do, that they were going to separate, that they were not going to do anything related to royalty. And the reality of the matter is that no, they can't. They can't. Well, but let's continue. There's no way. He's real. They are real. He's royalty. Well, let's continue. It's true that Prince Harry, even though he's no longer in royal functions, no longer works for the royalty in all newspapers. When talking about the royals, you have to talk about Harry. But the thing is, he's second in line to the throne, so ultimately you have to talk about Harry and Meghan 100%. And Prince Harry has to be mentioned because he's Lady Di's son, linked to royalty. He's the son of Charles III, who is the king, and of course, he's going to be the brother of the future King William. And you have to talk 100% about Harry when talking about the British royal family. That's how it is. And even if they are outside the royal, they will continue to belong and will continue to be talked about in the news about them, because that will never change. Where it comes from and where it comes from. I'm going to leave Harry here now too, part of another video on the Harry topic, which I find super interesting to complement this video we are making today. Also, keep an eye on the Times newspaper because they dropped a bomb yesterday, March 1st. A lot of information came out that we will be unpacking over these days. And this bomb they dropped here left me quite amazed. They would have said that Prince William's assistant played a very important role, or as they say, a key role in Harry and Meghan's royal departure. This was Simon Case, a private secretary to William at that time, and he would have drafted a document outlining the steps for the aces to abandon their royal duties. This assistant to Prince William would have been responsible for drafting that document according to court documents. This week, the Duke of Sussex lost his attempt to restore his armed police protection every time he visited Britain. But we know that. But we know that the Duke would have said, according to a legal spokesman for him, that he would seek justice by appealing this decision. A 51-page judgment in the case revealed how the details of the Sussexes' departure from their royal duties were reached. On January 8, 2020, after spending time in Canada, Harry and Meghan announced that they would step back from all official royal duties. Palace sources said at the time that Queen Elizabeth had not been consulted before the couple released their statement, and that she was disappointed by that stance. The documents currently being shown would be that Case, who had previously worked for David Cameron and Theresa May, wrote a document on behalf of the royal household outlining the steps for the aces to resign from their royal duties. On January 11, 2020, Sir Edward Young, the private secretary to the late Queen, had emailed the plaintiff with a draft. It had been a large part the work of Simon Case. Following the meeting at Sandringham on January 13, 2020, what the plaintiff describes as a kind of agreement was reached, which had been described in the media as the Sandringham Agreement. It is understood that Simon Case's article lists a series of 5 options for the Sussexes. Harry wrote in his autobiography that option 1 was the status quo. Maggie and I are leaving. Everyone tries to return to normality. Option 5 was total dismissal, no royal role, not working for the grandmother and total loss of security. And option 3 was somewhere in between, the closest to what we had originally proposed, but Harry described the whole meeting as a setup because an assistant stood up after nearly an hour of debating all the options, handing over a draft of a statement that the palace would soon release an announcement implementing option 5, in which Harry added, in other words, if the solution had been solved all this time, or if the summit had been just for show, the fact that Simon, acting on behalf of Prince William, was so important in the final outcome of Harry's departure. This raises even more doubts about whether the brothers could ever reconcile. It is even said that the Duke learned that members of the royal household were part of the executive and VIP committee, the body that made decisions about security arrangements for members of the royal family, the key here also of what they are revealing in the Times, and this agreement by Simon Case. Well, after his stint, this gentleman is now 45 years old. He is in Whitehall. He was also appointed cabinet secretary and head of the civil service in 2020. But there's something strange about what's being said about this agreement, and it's regarding the security access being evaluated on Prince Harry, that he had to notify of each trip with at least 28 days' notice. Harry opposed this decision, and his legal team argued that he remained fifth in line to the throne and that the threat level would not decrease simply because he was no longer a full-time working member of the royal family. The High Court had 7 assertions in which it said that Prince Harry was wrong, and the 7th would also be this last one, that Harry says it would be irrational to expect a 28-day notice in those visits to the UK. If he wants security, and the judge said in response to this that argument had no basis and that Harry had not provided any evidence that the weapon had been drawn or imposed for any reason. The same Nicaraguan journalist, Laura Rodriguez, says she has a source in the UK and has talked about the Harry and Meghan issue with that source. I think people don't really realize how long it takes to make a video like this, so all I can do is thank you for helping these videos go viral, as we've been doing practically for the past few weeks. Now I say goodbye. A big kiss to everyone, and see you tomorrow with a new video.